السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وأتباعه أجمعين. Just people feel free to sit. Come next to me or somewhere.
Okay, I think that's good.
Okay. But let the people feel comfortable to sit next.
Okay.
Here, inshallah. Now, just we don't have much time, so we'll start reading the verse that we are going to study today, and start studying today. Now, the verse, can you, is it big enough for you to read? Yeah. فذرني هي
فذرني ومن يكذب بهذا الحديث سنستدرجهم من حيث لا يعلمون أملي لهم إن كيدي متين.
So that is the chapter, the pen, and the verse number is, chapter number is 68, and verse number is 44. So now, what this verse says in English, anybody? Anyone? Yeah.
So leave anyone who denies this discourse to me. We will lead them step by step into destruction from where they do not know.
So it's, what do you feel about the verse? What do you feel about the verse? So, yeah.
The verse sounds very stern.
Yeah, that's what I really wanted to hear, that you realize that it looks very stern and threatening. Is it really? Let's make it sound more softer. How? Don't physically interfere into people's choice. Leave it. Do you understand? So physically interfere, I mean, you can go and talk to them, but not coerce them, force them. Leave it to me. That is one side of it, because if the choice is free, then it will be a choice. If you are forced, it is not a choice. So if something is not your choice, it is not your responsibility. So God has not given me the opportunity to choose, and I won't be responsible for whatever I am being forced into. That's obvious. So that's one thing that we should understand. The second thing, the second step of the verse says, when I discuss them, we will lead them step by step into destruction, where they don't know. What does it mean? If you want to discuss about the first piece, first phrase, leave them to me. I will take care of them means really threatening, sounds threatening. Now, it is between the person and me, not you. So if someone denies, none of your business. But as long as any action interferes between me and you, for example, you come and chase me away from my home. That is my business. But you don't believe in the Creator. That is between you and the Creator. Clear? So make it, don't really force people physically because of their choices. That's very fundamental principle in Islamic teaching or the Quranic teaching. But what the narration says to us, the historian's narration tells to us, as if the Prophet was physically interfering. Historian's narration, if you want to understand the Quranic teaching, you got to watch out for the historian's presentation of the case, which is their personal interpretation. That is their way of presenting the way. But most of the time, the case is correct, but interpretation is wrong. That is what media does. We know that practically now. The event is correct, let's say, how many people gathered here, but the way it is presented is the interpretation of the person who presents the case to us. Historians do the same thing. In order to avoid the historian's interpretation, in an attempt to understand the message of the Quran, what we have to do is very simple. We have to change the methodology of our reading the Quran and read it for your own case. Your own case. So if I believe, if I don't believe, my Creator is going to treat me. Nobody else. I should know it. And also, if anybody else, even in my family members, believes or not believe, doesn't believe, God, the Creator, his owner or her owner, is going to treat him, deal with this person, not you. It doesn't mean that we should close your mouth, we should not remind, but without interfering into the people's free choice, we can make suggestions. Of course. If they don't want to listen, it's their choice. Yeah. If they don't want to listen, that's their choice. We understand? We have to respect their choice. But if they show interest in what we said, we should carry on presenting the case to them. Right? The second, this is the first phrase of the verse. When them, the past week, from Wednesday to this Wednesday, from last week Wednesday to this Wednesday, what I realize that we keep repeating, and people may be fed up with it, with the repetition. We have to read the Quran as the Quran presents itself and let it address to human senses. To your human senses, if you are presenting the Quran to somebody else, present it to this person's human senses, humanity. But what we usually do, and almost in America and the States, there is no exception to it, we read the Quran as a believer. We may investigate it in order to come to our belief trust in the Quran, or we may not, maybe we may be just really transferring the legacy of ancestors to ourselves. This is my business. So you may be trying to see the Quran from a believer's perspective, but you cannot present this message of the Quran to the listeners as they are believers. And especially, which is really frightening, as they are Muslim members of community. You should never do that. And unfortunately, I have been exposed to some cases. Oh man, it is very frightening. Why? Quran is not presented to humanity. Quran is presented from Muslim point of view to Muslim audience. What does it mean? It means I am thus taking the audience's pre-accepted belief system and just repeating the same perspective to them. It is not renewing. It is not refreshing as far as their way of thinking is concerned. It is just consolidating their, whether consciously or unconsciously, dogmas. We have to ourselves expose, we ourselves expose ourselves to the Quran, although it is not easy. Anytime we get the message from the Quran, as if, well, it is the truth, not as if really, as if it was wrong. As it speaks to me right now from my Creator to guide me right now as what? Say it.
A human.
As a human. For me as well, so that I will really replenish my humanity and see the message of the Quran from my human perspective, so that my feelings, my senses will be strengthened if I am satisfied with it. If I am not satisfied with it, I have to reflect on it. No pre-accepted belief and repetition of that belief just because I believe in God, so I'm a Muslim, so Quran says so, it must be so. It is not the purpose of the Quran. Purpose of the Quran to always renew your understanding, and if you understand it, upgrade you, elevate your capacity to understand, better than yesterday. You have to be open. This kind of approach is very rare. If you find one, please let me know. If you say one source, one person, one book, something is doing this, please let me know. I was very disappointed from my experience. Just speak to Muslims, just to really, if you like, flatter them in the name of encouraging them to do something. But no human sense is being trained and upgraded in realizing and confirming the true or not truthfulness of the message. You get it? Truthfulness of the message. Every day we have to renew our belief. If we are satisfied, if we are not satisfied today, Yesterday's satisfaction is no good. It is past. Do you get it? It is a so essential matter. So essential. I am yet waiting for somebody to speak or present the Quran to human senses, whoever they are. Muslim, believers, non-believers, belonging to another community, leave them aside, speak to them to their human capacity. Because by definition, the Creator speaks to
everyone.
Sorry?
Mankind.
Mankind, human beings. So Creator speaks to human senses, not your previous judgments. It is very difficult to find this method. That's why don't look at it. We are not so huge people, number of people. Even one person, you have to do it for yourself. Now, when you read from this perspective, the Quran starts making sense to you. If you don't know yourself, the Quran just a book of repetition for you. Yesterday you were at this level of understanding. Today you are in the same place. Because you are reading as a believer. Do you get it? Is it clear? Yeah. We keep repeating this principle always, but I found it so interesting. Why not people don't follow this method? That's why Quran is not presented to humanity. Only a close circle repeating the same cultural knowledge, although they study the Quran, repeating themselves. That is very dangerous. But dangerous about what? About our own growth, and at the same time, respecting the truth of the Quran. It is not being effective. I'm very sorry for myself and her. That's your turn.
I understand what you're saying, but something's bothering me. Are there verses that, I think some verses address O mankind, and then aren't there some that address O you who believe?
Yeah.
So how, based on what you just told us, how can we understand these?
Are you following, because you don't constantly count, I'm not blaming. Are you following the missing classes online? Yeah, that is the question that arises from there. In principle, it is very simple. In principle, when the Quran says, mu'minun, kafirun, munafiqun, yeah, believers, non-believers, hypocrites, Christians, Jews, Yahud. We have place. Never Quran finger points a person or a group of people. What does it do? Mu'minun. Who are mu'minun? Let's say it. Kafirun. Who are kafirun? Munafiqun. Who are munafiqun? We don't know. We don't know. Just had it again. I had an experience with a Chinese person. She said, just at the beginning of the discussion, we had for somewhere around half an hour, her parents are following Buddhist tradition. It's all right, but they are open-minded. She is an atheist, but there is no clash between the parents and her. She's happy. I said, I don't think you are an atheist. And half an hour later, we both realized that she is not an atheist. She is just not identifying herself with a institutionalized religion, because the institutionalized religion are not really presented to her in their reality, the reality of the religion, like tradition. If a person comes to a Muslim community to have most of masjid, what do? We pray 5 times a day. We fast Ramadan. What does it mean? Why do you do that? Why? Why do you say good? Why? Present your belief system to me. What is the base for your choice to believe in God or not? Do you understand? So people's identification is always misleading. Don't take it for granted. She herself, believe me, in half an hour, she herself admitted clearly that no, she is not an atheist. But she doesn't identify herself with any set of religion. It means institutionalized religion presented to her as it is presented to her. If you go to a church, what they do, you will never believe in God. Plus, if you go to a mosque, by looking at them, what they are doing, you will never be interested in Islam. But they are doing stupid things, right? So when the Quran uses the word, "O you who believe," means listen to the following message after you confirm your belief. And from the belief perspective, not necessarily that I identify myself as a believer. I don't know. You have to read the Quran at every moment as speaking to you as a human being right now. Read the following message, which mostly mentions after one believes which kind of attitude you should take. If you have not, you may say, I believe, but you don't know what you are doing in something in the name of Islam or being a Muslim, so that you cannot really listen to the following. First, you have to have the believing attitude, and then if you are convinced about the belief, and then you can follow what is said afterwards. So if the Quran says kafirun, the Quran means not this person, not this person. Quran means whoever has the conclusion for himself, concluded, that whoever concluded that there is no way for a human being to believe in the Creator. I am not going to submit myself to my Creator because I don't accept it. I am a free man. I don't want to take notice of any will, choice of my Creator over my choice. You see? Now, this is denial. And this attitude is understood. When a person takes this attitude, he can read the following of this verse. Yeah? So, but everybody, no one is perfect. Everybody has a grain of not being satisfied, not ready to submit, his existence to the creator and uses existence according to the will of the creator. Be careful. Then at that moment, within that zone, he is behaving as a denier. At that moment, within that. So it doesn't mean that we should call, or this person should call himself, I am a kafir or something. Everybody has weaknesses. We have to acknowledge the weaknesses of the people. Right? And also, I have to acknowledge my own weaknesses. I may fail. Instead of discussions, you can sit there.
Okay. May I just use the excuse for this week because it sounds fascinating, but I have to go somewhere for dinner. But I'll be here next time.
Up to you. I mean, please.
But I'll be here next time.
Inshallah, next Wednesday.
Thank you so much.
So we are in the prayer room.
Okay, awesome.
Normally, today is the exceptional.
Awesome. Yeah, because I just wanted to come catch as much as I could. Thanks so much. Inshallah.
People are going to mourn.
No, the
Yeah. So watch out for yourself. So did you get it now?
Yes.
How to read the Quran in principle?
Yes, thank you.
Never take yourself under a identification and say, I'm going to read this. For example, a verse we said, tell the unbelievers. I'm going to tell the unbelievers, or this is concerned with the unbelievers, or it's for you, for me. Even I may be 100% satisfied that I am a believer, but it was, your belief was just before you start reading the book. You don't become an unbeliever or denier at the moment, but don't take it for your previous status for granted. Every time sit in front of the speech of the Creator as if he is speaking to you, or in the case of the Quran, or the speaker in the Quran, whatever the way you look at it, he is speaking to you to give you guidance right now when he says, oh, you hypocrites. My hypocrite side. Oh, you unbelievers, deniers. Oh, my denying side. Because it is amazing to notice that. And people miss it. Usually, we see that it is missed. Mostly, the Quran, by definition, everybody says, it is claimed to be the word of God. So it needs to be read as a word of God. God cannot be put within time and space limitations. So the Quran, the speech of the one who knows you right now, narrates an event, for example, narrates a prophetic story to you now when you read it. When you don't read it, he keeps speaking, but you turn the volume off. Yeah. Do you notice that? For example, if you turn the screen off, the broadcasting continues, but you don't hear it. In a very simplistic example, book is transferring the knowledge. When it is closed, you don't get the knowledge. Quran is like this. He's speaking to you right now, but for any reason, you are not listening to it. When you start listening to it, it is your Creator right now speaking to you now. And your methodology of reading the Quran must be like this. regardless of your being previously Muslim, non-Muslim, but blah, blah, or somebody he believes and is doubtful about many things. These are all in the past. These are all in the past. Now you have to address yourself to the Quran as it speaks to you. But this is hard. First of all, we don't listen to God, generally speaking. When we recite, for example, the small pieces of the Quran during the prayer or sometimes there, and we just repeat and read it in the form of a prayer. We don't know what we are saying, and we don't try to refer it to our own case. And we say we are Muslims, we believe in the Quran. It's just baseless. And it is a very important, if you like, danger for ourselves. It means we are not benefiting from the way God speaks to me. And my Creator gives me the guidance, and I don't listen to it. Right? Okay. Any more? No. So can we go to the second phrase, which says, we will lead them step by step into destruction from where they don't know. Now, if God is going to lead me into destruction, what shall I do? I cannot overcome God's power. Isn't that the text literally says? God said, I'm going to lead them into destruction, step by step. What shall I do? It is in the hands of the Creator, supposed to be, that's what they say, all-powerful. No one can challenge God's by definition. But be careful, it is a speech to you. It is a guidance to you. It's a guidance to you. So he says, look, I'm going to lead you into destruction step by step without knowing how this destruction is coming. Or it is a trick set by the Creator. What shall I do? It is beyond my capacity. Don't forget, in principle, we will keep this principle remembering every time we get together. God speaks to me within my conditions. Lets me know how His way of creation is. And we have to be able to confirm this message. Really, the Creator of the universe, in its own order, the order of the universe itself, the Creator of the universe is letting me realize how the order works. Because He is the one who set the order, but I am free to use the order in this way or another way. Yeah, for example, God says in winter, I create cold weather. What you can do? What? Yep. It means, hey, the order requires to be called, get ready to keep yourself warm. Prepare or protect yourself. Yeah? It doesn't mean that I'm going to create the cold and you should never escape from it. You cannot really escape from it. No, just it is letting you know His way of creation. So, but if you cannot really see the way of creation, if you cannot understand the way of creation through no experience, you cannot confirm this message. Because you cannot perceive it, you cannot have the evidence that this message is correct. Where? Within your own life experience. Not because, as we usually hear, God says so, it must be so. You see what I mean? That is the way generally followed. God says so, it must be so. No. God says this in order to teach you how you can pay attention to the order of the creation. And you will be able to see, observe, experience this order and say, yes, the one who made this universe made it in this way. And I'm giving free choice. Right? Winter is going to be cold. That's what the Creator reminds us, tells us. Yeah? Example. That's just an example. There is no such a verse. What does it mean? Get ready. Choose to protect yourself. The ways to protect yourself. So God says, I am going to drive you or lead you into destruction step by step. It means, don't you know that if you don't study today, what happens? You remain ignorant. If you had not studied in the previous days, you were ignorant. So if you are not going to choose to study tomorrow a particular subject, I'm told, you will remain ignorant. What happens? You start losing your capacity to learn. That's how the order is. Right? Without realizing that, you made yourself into it's a kind of disabled people to use his capacity, and you become disabled, if you like, to learn. For example, if you don't use your brain, what happens? At the end, at a certain age, depending on how you don't use your brain, after a certain age, it becomes a fixed nature of you. You don't think. You cannot think anymore. How do we know that? That is the order. In everybody, you see. Everywhere. But exceptional cases from birth or any accident, something, this is the decision of the Creator, none of my business. It is none of the responsibility of that person, because he didn't make himself. But freely choosing not to use your reasoning to find the truth. For example, if you don't bother about the truth of your existence, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for me? What happens? After the age of 45, 50, no one can make you think anymore. Get it? Here it is. Step by step. You don't become dumb in one day.
Yeah.
We're going to say that.
No, I was going to say the step by step, I think, is very important.
Yeah. And we don't realize that we are losing every day if we don't think about it. That's called, we always, on many occasions, we refer. Taqwa means one's consciousness, awareness about that if I don't use my abilities, I will lose it for good. And if I am always choosing the wrong side, I will continue choosing the wrong side. So every day I have to remind myself, am I doing right? Am I doing right? In an investigative way, investigating. Have I been really on the right one? For example, you say, I believe in God. Okay. The second day, what does it mean for me? Again, refresh it, renew it. That's why there are something thousand verses, each of which encourages us to renew it. Actually, the same message. Quran, from one aspect, is complete the repetition of La ilaha illallah. If you look at it carefully, nothing is not reminding La ilaha illallah in the Quran. It means any sentence in the Quran is a means of reviving, replenishing the La ilaha illallah main pillar of one's worldview. Every time. Read the Quran in order to understand La ilaha illallah. You will get it. But it needs a little bit patience. You cannot become a scholar in one day, but you cannot become a completely ignorant man in one day. Step by step. That's a gradual development or gradual degradation. Gradual.
You gave us the example of cold. So when cold weather.
How cold weather?
Mhm.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was an example. In this verse, when it says discourse, does it refer to cold weather? Meaning you're like, does that make sense? Leave anyone who denies this discourse to me. Can we look at discourse as anything
I don't understand the word. How do you spell this? Course or cold or what?
Cold weather.
Cold weather.
Cold weather.
Yeah.
No,
Cold.
she's saying discourse.
Discourse?
Discourse or which? What are you saying?
I'm saying you gave us the
Repeat
example.
the word and let's understand. If you cannot make me understand, spell it out, because you know my pronunciation and I can really catch your pronunciation. I'm not saying you are wrong. It's
Okay.
It's my mistake. Yeah.
A few minutes ago, you gave an example of cold weather, the winter.
Cold weather. Yeah, I understood.
And in this verse, you see the word discourse.
Which
So
word?
leave anyone who denies this discourse to me.
That is discourse. Yeah.
Yes. So my question is, the word discourse, does it refer to scripture or does it refer to cold wintry weather? Does it refer to any
Existence.
event?
Or the universe.
Yeah.
What is happening? Both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. Why do we say both? Of course, most of the people will say the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
But what we understand, Quran is the very simple definition. Again, to remind ourselves, you cannot separate the speech of the Creator from His action. So, in fact, which is more important, everybody knows, which is more important, speech or action? Well, for example, I may say, thank you. What did I say? Thank you, but I insulted you.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Action. Speech is not important. They have lots of experiments on the human relationship between speech and action, which one is more effective. In fact, speech has no effect if you really say. For example, if I say, man, I hate you. What does it mean?
You're joking.
I love you. It means, yeah, because the way I say it. But if I use a serious language in my behavior, face expression, and facial gesture, it should really mean, even I say I love you, it should really mean I hate you. So behavior is important. What is the importance of this example? Creation is more important than the explanation in the speech form. So no one can say that, oh, it means Quran is not important. Because we are indoctrinated in this. What do you mean? Quran is not important? Yes, it is not important. Or correct English. No, it is not important if we don't understand the Quran under the witnessing of the action. Yeah? But if you listen to it as a guide and look at the creation as we did now, the verse said, we will lead them into destruction step by step. Literally, it means you cannot do anything. But when you look at the creation, read the Quran alongside with the creation, if it is your principle, you will see that, yeah, that's what I have been experiencing here. That is how the order of the universe has been established. And this verse, this part of the verse, just draws my attention to be careful about the order of the creation. And you are created as subjected to the order of the creation. It's just a reminder. But if you cannot witness it in the creation, you cannot confirm this message. And this message will be irrelevant to you, meaningless for you.
I understand how someone can read this, especially the second part, as in the literal way. But when I think about it more, it actually doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because if you are born just to be destroyed anyway, that means you are not led anywhere step by step. You were just created to be destroyed. Yeah. So it almost is a contradiction with what the ayah.
For example, if someone is telling you something which is not within your voice, yeah? You say, are you stupid? Why do you tell me this? Because I cannot do anything anyways.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So these are very essential principles. Very essential principles you don't hear much, or you don't see much followed. Why I keep saying that, look, be careful, they are not in there, you cannot find anywhere. It means don't be carried away by the wind, you see, prevalent in the Muslim community who claims to propagate the Quran, which may not be useful, plus may well be harmful for you, although they speak apparently in the way of in defense of the Quran. You don't realize, oh, this person defending the Quran, propagating the message of the Quran, but in an unhuman way, makes the Quran sound stupid, harms it. We are not judging about anybody's intention, because they may have a good intention. God will reward them, but none of our business, their intention. Our business is that this method is very dangerous. It transgresses the right of the speech of God. So we have to be very careful for ourselves, not to blame anybody. Okay, don't listen to them. Just be careful with the principles and read the Quran accordingly. So, the famous, in my notes, famous sayings of the Prophet narrated, everybody hears this. You die as you live, and you will be resurrected as you die. So it means you don't have to really think about it deeply. If you never study chemistry, don't you die as a person who has no knowledge of chemistry? Your spirit is educated as not knowing any chemistry. So you will be resurrected with the spirit. So simple. But when it comes to religion, what we do, we interpret this beautiful reminder of the prophetic saying, you die as you live, reduced to only your, if you like, nominal identity, and your imitative doings of rituals, not belief consciousness, not educating your human senses with belief perspective. But that is why the hadith is misused, or where the hadith is misused. But if you really take this hadith as your belief training, because belief training has no end. We think that when I take a shahada, I'm done. Just to oppose it. When you are convinced, let's say, you were convinced yesterday that La ilaha illallah is correct, yeah, it was yesterday. That was the beginning. Today you have to upgrade it one step ahead. If you don't upgrade it one step ahead, what happens? You remain the same. And the Prophet says, if a person's 2 days are equal, he is in loss. He is in loss. What does it mean? You studied, example, chemistry. Yeah? And you learn something and never renewed it, never upgraded. What happens? What happens? What happens?
You lose it.
You lose it. Yeah. It's very simple. That's what the order of the creation is. We experience it. There is nothing mystical about it. I am experiencing it, how the order is created. So you understand that if you read the Quran and the prophetic narrations consciously, carefully, alongside with the way the things are created by the same source which speaks to you, then you can comfortably understand it. If you don't, you imitate it. Prophet says, so, do you know better than the Quran? You understand? So, must accept it, as he said. Don't you believe in the Prophet? Aren't you a Muslim? Look at the language. What we are accustomed to. Huh? So, if you are a Muslim, you have to follow the Prophet. Yes? I don't use if you are a Muslim. You Prophet, because it's the big claim. A person comes out and says, I am the prophet of God. It means employed by God. Yeah, I am employed. I'm given the mission by the Creator. I have to take it seriously. If it is really, if this person is transferring the message of the Creator, who's my Creator, I have to listen to him carefully, not to imitate, to make sense of it. Not to imitate. That's the difference. Okay. All right. Okay. Now we can continue. I think we are done with the 44. Huh? So 45. You know that we are not here to learn knowledge, to learn methodology. So we study one verse, apply the methodology, and see that it is working. Follow this methodology, apply it in your own study. Right? That's why we don't really transfer knowledge. Transferring knowledge is nothing. You know, transferring knowledge is it is not human endeavor anymore. Google can do it. So we don't have to be a human even to transfer the knowledge, information. Google is there, electronic. So methodology is important. 45. Anyone? Okay.
وَأُمْلِيَ لَهُمْ إِنْ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ.
45?
Yes, last one.
Yeah. أُمْلِي لَهُمْ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ.
كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ.
Yeah. Now, so, and bear with them. Yeah.
And I bear with them, surely my plan is firm.
Just a minute. وَإِنِّي لَهُمْ إِنْ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. Yeah. The translation is somebody? No one have to read it.
And I bear with them, surely my plan is firm.
Yeah. What does it mean? Now, bear with them. Okay. Remind them. Don't force them. Don't force them. It's a very typical example. We always use this example, very practical. We use always simple examples. And most of the time, the same example. Why not? Why should we make it complicated not to use the same example? What is the point in not using the same example? Professor says in the class, listen to me carefully. Otherwise, you cannot understand and you cannot really learn and pass the class. And you will fail. Yeah? Don't force them. Remind them. Leave them. Yeah? Bear with them. Don't get impatient. Just remind. And of course, this is correct for us. It is correct for us. No one is forcing me to believe in God or not. But I should know that in the order of the universe, nothing forces me, only I see in my own feelings the reminder. When I do something wrong, do I feel happy? Yeah, that's a reminder. If something is going on wrong, that's a reminder. So that is for you, from within. If you don't listen to yourself, what happens? If you don't listen to yourself, what happens? No one forces you. But this understanding becomes heavier and heavier. But at the same time, if you don't really question it, this feeling becomes your second nature. A pessimist man, a reactionary person, yeah, a false pride, saying, I'm a believer, I'm a Muslim, I never miss prayer, etc. False pride, and in reality, you are not making any development, any progress in your realization, because the realization has no end. And well, now bear with them. That is for us. You won't feel any really physical pain on you, but of course the emotional pain may turn into a part of your character. And then your character turns into takes the form of your physical appearance, your face expressions, your bodily functioning, whatever the metabolisms are affected from your, for example, stressful attitude, depressive character, pessimist character, because no hope. Because you are not aware of the purpose of your existence. So it slowly, step by step, your character changes, even your physical life changes, biological life changes. But this is the order in the universe. That is the choice of the creator of this universe. So the last, surely my plan is firm in the KD method. So do you see any change in the order of the universe?
It's working out.
Touching? Am I touching? Yeah. Okay, maybe. So do you see any change in the creation? His principles, the principles in his creation doesn't change. But some people say, look, there are some hadiths, if you give sadaqah, so your divine determining or determined way of life changes. If you give to charity, your qadr, it means your destiny changes. Why? That's what we hear.
Yes.
How? But how can I witness it in the creation? So, because God's plan is very firm and stable. But if you give sadaqah, as if God's plan will change.
Well, not necessarily.
Okay, explain. Or how would you really understand this?
I believe if you do good,
So
if you do good,
you
will be rewarded. So if you give, the moment you give sadaqah, that's your destiny to be rewarded. It doesn't necessarily have to change.
So, did you understand? I didn't. Can you, can somebody transfer?
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. He's saying that the moment you decide to give sadaqah, that's when your
Yeah.
destiny change. That's when your qadr has changed already, right?
No, you're
saying
saying
it
it didn't
didn't.
change.
That's the way it's
You said that was a part of your destiny all
exactly,
along.
all along.
Okay.
Say it again.
When you can say it.
You just
Just
say
say
it again.
Say it louder.
Okay, that's it. The moment you decide to give sadaqah,
To give to charity,
yes, it is planned for you to be rewarded.
it's planned for it.
It is already
It's already decided. It's more like A or B.
Adding the part where the moment you decide. Yeah. You mean that
Because of the action itself.
Meaning
What
it's
he's saying
spontaneous.
is the plan is already in place. The moment you give the charity, the plan, the determination is already there.
but that,
Another
that's
plan. Maybe you have
The plan
something to
comes
say.
because of the action itself. If you didn't actually if the action didn't actually happen,
So,
there won't be any
so in the order, how can I approve that plan is there and plan has already. Now, let's hear what Ihab says.
No, I just feel that there's something contradictory with what he's saying. He's saying that the moment I do an action, it is my destiny.
It's my choice.
No, I
Yeah,
think, I think like
No, so how is it my destiny if at a certain moment I had to do something for it to happen?
That's not the way I choice on it.
Yeah, I think he was saying that when you do give the sadaqah, that the benefit you get is part of the destiny. So if you do bad, then you get something negative. That's part of the destiny. If you
How do you present it in terms of this order of the universe?
Yes.
That's another question.
Okay. Sorry, after this point. Yeah.
So the example which comes to my mind is if there is a seed, and if the seed is planted in the ground, and if the seed receives water and nutrition and sunlight, everything that the seed needs to grow, the seed is receiving the charity essentially. And the seed is following the order, the seed is following the plan. And so the seed grows into a tree. It progresses.
Now the change of the plan is not arbitrary in the order of the universe. Would you like to make more comment? I think
I just want to add one thing to what he's saying, but I think there's more to it on an individual level.
Yes.
If you make a decision to give charity, for example, or to help someone, that changes that changes who you are. In the same way that when you're a pessimist, that changes how you deal with things and eventually influences your character. So does the decision.
Sorry, it influences your character.
Yeah.
What is it? Well, I understand, but I'm guessing, but I want to hear it clearly. What
the decision to be
influences your character.
Yeah. Every small decision. Sure, the pessimistic decision, the decision to have a pessimistic outlook on a specific situation in your life. Eventually, when that accumulates, but over time, that influences your character and becomes a default in your character.
It is the order of the creation.
Yeah, and so the same applies for doing good to people or charity or helping or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that also when you make the conscious decision to give, the accumulation of multiple conscious decisions to give influences your character.
But it is aligned, as I understand what Akhtem said. Don't you think?
So, yeah.
Because giving water, water, this is the order of the universe. If you keep watering the plant,
yeah,
it grows.
Yeah, I just like practical stuff.
Yeah, but one thing, agreed? One thing I would like to add to it by asking a question. What does giving charity mean? Giving to charity mean?
The way that I look at it is that you are the direct connection between the creation and the other side receiving the charity. So you are the intermediate. You are the intermediary between that. So you are providing that charity essentially.
So make it.
I don't know how to phrase it.
In an example, with an example.
Yeah. What do you
For
mean?
example, I have $1,000 in my pocket. Do you want to give so I see that somebody is needy. I said, I don't really need it. Yeah, but since this person needs it, I will give it. Now maybe you wanted to say this one, intermediary. When I give the money to you, does this action change my future character, if you like? Is you both of you say, okay.
So if we're talking about how my destiny changes based on my action. So for example, there's a hadith or even in the Qur'an, giving a sadaqah, right? Which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But
Because something is getting going out of your pocket,
yeah,
but you say that it is increasing.
but if you well,
Yeah.
so to your question, what is sadaqah?
But
Sadaqah is
charity.
Yeah, what is charity? It is realizing that you have no ownership, really, right? And when you actually consciously understand that and believe in that, when you're giving that wealth away, you got something way more valuable instead.
Yeah. Not the action itself changes your character.
Yeah.
But the training while you are performing this action, you change your mind. If you are aware of it, I was going to say, but what? Of it what? What does it mean here? Now, when you are reading the Quran or the Hadith narrations, we've got to be very careful. Why? We should never read the Quran or the Hadith narrations as a scholar's advice. Scholar who knows the things in the world, knowledge, has the knowledge of the world, but the Quran and the Prophet never mentions the physical side of never means the physical side of the event. For example, when the Quran says, for example, if you take any ordinary book from organized or printed out by book or booklet, handbook, by a charity organization, what you do, this charity organization may be an organization run by atheist people. What they mean only the physical action, that you give money to somebody. What the Quran or the Prophet says, according to their mission, they speak about the same action. According to their mission. What are their mission? Well, what is their mission? Their mission is to teach you the aspect of this action which looks to its creator. So what makes a sadaqah is not the amount of money or is not the action itself, your consciousness and the practice of your consciousness while you are giving. Now, okay. It came to my mind and it slipped away. So I can't, maybe not relevant. Yeah.
So, but without the consciousness, even in the physical world, giving sadaqah is
charity,
giving charity is still beneficial, and it does double your income. There's like an entire
Wow.
How does it work?
Yeah. You give $100 to somebody.
Yeah.
Out of your $1,000.
Yeah.
And how it increases.
They call it attracting good.
What is good?
Yeah, but they're not consciously doing it, but it still works.
I know this is a very general trend, and we cannot understand the Quran and we cannot understand the sayings of the Prophet without taking into account of their mission. The Quran speaks only your connection from the perspective of your connection with your Creator. The Prophet's mission is to remind you your connection with the Creator. That's it. But every word, that's why I keep saying, anything wrong?
No, it's just people are complaining that it's too dark. They can't see.
Yeah.
Okay. So for today, maybe we can do this slide, but I don't know. Doesn't matter. Really. But tell them today is exception. So, what of the point?
Talking about the example that she was using for tracking good.
Perspective. If we don't apply the
Yeah.
My argument to that, and I don't mean to be contradictory, but what does that matter? Everyone does charity or anything with some set of values in their mind.
Yeah.
Some of it is Islamic, some of it is spiritual, some of it is just too much money, and some of it is the getting good. What was it?
Fame.
Yeah, to PR.
Yeah. So the more charity the person gives, if it is not in recognition of his ownership, is just on the surface, not real, it enforces, strengthens his ego. Proud. I'm a good man. It becomes more and more egoistic person, self-satisfied, proud of his charity activity, not really being more and more modest and thankful to the owner of the property who enabled me. If you carefully read the hadiths, they don't say, thank God I gave this amount to charity. What does it say? What does the prophetic sayings are usually paraphrased? Thank God who enabled me to do that. Thank God who gave me the opportunity
It's back to
to
his
perform.
It's back to his point about you realize that it's none of it is yours.
Yeah. So when you decide that by practicing, for example, the people came to the prophet, and they said, look, rich people will be rewarded. They were also, the people who are learning, students. If someone submits to God or to the mission of the prophet one day, the second day it doesn't become the most knowledgeable man of the world. Because we say companions, yeah? His good intention is certified, but it doesn't mean that he understood the Qur'an or the teachings of the prophet. That's why most of the questions raised by the companions of the prophet demonstrates that they didn't understand. It's quite normal. It doesn't really lose their value in our eyes because we don't really appreciate people because of their knowledge. We appreciate people because of their modesty, their consistency, their awareness of what they are doing. So when they said, for example, yeah, the rich people will be rewarded in paradise, but we are poor people. What are we going to do? And we won't be rewarded. You might have heard of this hadith. So what does it mean? The real practice is not important. Consciousness is important. Even example, you have nothing at all. For example, I can give you an example. Let's say you have 100, I have 1 million. You gave $50 to the charity. I gave $100,000 to the charity. Material-wise, who is better? the one who gives 50% of property. It means the physical amount, physical action itself has no meaning, no benefit. But let me see the time first. Yeah, we got to stop here. So even more than this, this kind of activities should described or encouraged by the Quran and the Hadith, all related to your consciousness about your relationship with your Creator, nothing to do with the world. So, your consciousness, for example, if someone says, this is a hypothetical question, I am conscious that this property is not mine, this is God's, okay? But there is somebody who needs it more than I do, and I don't give it. What does it mean? My claim is fake. So if it belongs to God, give it to the person who is created by God in need of it. Give it to him. If you really are sincere, it means consciousness is important. Action is not. So when you are conscious, you are bound to act. If you don't act, it's a sign that you are not conscious. But if you act by itself, action has no value. So as your answer, if you give to sadaqah and it is already whatever in your destiny, it changed there, that's a problem. So the way we see in the creation, if you change your mind, if you decide that you will take rather than this way, but this way, that decision you see in the creation, what happens? Changes your destiny. For example, I give this simple example. Which way is, I don't know, New Jersey? This way or this way? So this way, New Jersey. Yeah? I intend to go to New Jersey. And what am I expected to do? To walk this way, or let's say walking. Okay? All right, doesn't matter. Yeah, this way. Doesn't matter. This way. So if I go just in the opposite direction, what happens? I am just being far and far away from New Jersey. And one day I said, oh God, what I'm doing is wrong, really. New Jersey is on this side, I'm walking this way, action-wise. So when you decide that, you have to turn back and walk on the opposite direction now towards New Jersey. Your need, this distance between you and New Jersey becomes closer. You see, your destiny changed.
How?
Sorry, yeah, because you were going far, now you are getting closer. Now, it means the order of the universe shows you that if you decide something, you will make progress on the way that you decided. For example, you say, I'm going to study Quran every day, let's say half an hour, as much as I can. Okay, what happens now? From this decision onwards, you start making progress. That's how it's created. It means you were going this direction and you were building up your character in this direction. Now your character is changing to this direction. Just we should be aware that giving charity is the practice of your consciousness if your consciousness is related to your Creator. That makes the difference. That's why sadaqah means, in the language of the Quran, or the prophet, your relationship with your God. Yeah. So practical is necessary result of the belief. But if you really believe, you got to, you know that you have to act because you believe in it. Practice means necessary result of your belief. But if there is no belief, but act is possible, but it is for nothing. Right? Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, we studied this 44 and 45, but these are the training, how to read the Quran. Inshallah. Don't expect information. Language information, that this word comes from this and that. What shall I do? Yeah? Principles are important. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.